Call the meeting to order. We're waiting for one person, but we have a very full agenda. So just quickly, could I get a motion to approve the agenda and for today?
I move we approve the agenda.
Thanks, Jan. And second?
I second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Then we have minutes from September 10th. Well done, Kevin.
Thank you.
Are there any additions, corrections, questions? If not, I'll ask for a motion to approve the minute.
Motion to approve?
Thanks, Stacy. And a second?
Second?
Jan, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, great. So we have the Cologne City Administrator / Clerk / Treasurer.
Yeah, that's a lot, huh?
Yeah, you wear all the hats. So Michelle Morrison.
Hi, I don't think I've met anyone here. I just took over this January. Our city administrator moved on to Medina. So, and they have not replaced me. I was the city clerk, so that's why I've got all those things, because by statute you have to have one in each city, so that's, I'm wearing all those hats. What's going on in Cologne? Building, but I think that's gonna slow down because we have a wastewater treatment, not problem, but we're at capacity. So we were trying to get funding from the legislature last year for a $15 million project, and you know, the legislature didn't do any bonding, so nothing happened. We've spent the year getting a design for it, so it's on the shelf and ready to go when we do get funding, so we hope that moves us up so that we can keep building, because there is demand out here with 212 and stuff, but so that's a big thing going on. We started something new with new residents when they come in. Email goes out to all of them about what Cologne has to offer, and one of the things that we're promoting is your library, which everyone is, you may see more use of it because they're actually surprised that it's a thing to go online and order books and have them delivered here, so we're hoping that that gets used. I know I like it because it's very convenient for me. I see them come, I'm like, oh, my book is here. So, is this the only one you have in Carver, or do you have more?
There's a couple.
Two others.
Carver
Okay.
and.
Three others.
Three others.
Three.
Carver,
Victoria?
Victoria, and Mayor
Okay.
have them as well.
Yeah. So, so can I ask, like, reading more downloadable or books these days for you guys?
Like audio versus a hard,
Or ebooks.
Not ebooks.
On Libby.
I don't do audio. I do.
okay.
I do all Libby, and my husband does all hard books, and I'm like wondering. I can't believe. I mean, I like the occasional hard book, but so do people?
Yeah, it's very popular. The Libby app.
The Libby is okay.
Yeah.
Long
I don't
waiting
have-
lists for the wonderful books.
Although I just got like 2 that I've been waiting for forever, but I like the idea that you can let the next person use it.
Right.
So you can dive into. So I just dove into my new one last night. But otherwise, do you have questions for me about Cologne?
So you said there are a lot of people moving up.
We've had quite a bit of development on the north
on the
side.
north side of 212.
On the north side of 212 towards Waconia off 284 Loomis is, they put in almost 30 homes last year. It's slowing down. The interest rates have impacted that, and the cost of construction. I can't believe what people are having to pay. But the interest rate ticked down a little bit, so that's a thing. But we only have room for about 80 more homes.
Okay.
So, and I've talked to the builder, and they're not planning to hit 26 this year. They won't. They're at about 18 right now, so it has slowed down.
New homes?
New homes, yep. We do have someone who owns land just to the east of our border. They're in Benton Township. They are very interested in starting to build. homes, it would be a 2-year process, but they're looking for us to make some kind of commitment that the water treatment will be taken care of by then, which we can't guarantee, so, there are people wanting to start building in this ring of the suburbs, I guess you would say, you know. So everything just hinges on things falling into place.
What's the population right now,
2,800?
including all the new,
Yeah,
since the last census? It's
since the last census.
Basically you track how many sort of.
Yeah, what we've gotten for new homes, so we're at 28.
So you say there's space for 80 more, is that getting to your maximum, to your capacity, or?
It would be
18?
the capacity for what our wastewater treatment plant can
So you
flush.
still can add
So
a
we
few more
said-
homes, but that's
We-
about it?
Yep, we can add more homes, and they have room for 60
Okay.
over there. They've got it platted out. We had, someone wanted to build an apartment complex right on the other side here of Village Drive. But they met opposition from the people, and then when the ERU subject came up, the council was reluctant to give them the 67 units that they needed, because then Loomis, we've already platted them, we couldn't issue permits once that came in. So it's kind of a dicey little game you gotta play, cause I mean, I would love to see some apartments come out. I don't know where you guys all live, but Cologne does not have much of a housing stock for apartments, so it would have been nice to see that, but we'll see.
Does the Bongards intersection, is that planned to be serviced by Cologne Water or Norwood Water?
No, not us, Norwood.
And then is that through Orley Annex, just east of there? Is that
Yep.
you all the way up to that intersection?
Nope, yeah, this is confusing, so we're the city limits, just because you have a Cologne mailing address doesn't mean you get water or services from us. Once you're outside the city limits, all of those properties that are on more like a couple acres, they have their own well and sewer. So Bongards, is pretty much all well and septic out there.
I'm just thinking about when, with 212 going 4-lane, the development will happen. And
Yep,
the limiting factors are water and sewer.
yep, that's exactly what it is.
And if that area was put to push out and be serviced by Cologne or anything east, that's Met Council. And if it's anything west of,
Yeah, we're not on the, we're not hooked up to the Met Council
Okay.
for our water treatment.
Yep.
Well, Coney is. It's interesting how that all,
so you got capacity to service 60 more dwellings and then you're capped.
yep,
And hope they don't use too much.
yeah.
Well, it's full of crap then. 60 more units.
Yeah. Well, we've got 80, 67 would have been the apartment complex, we've got 80.
Yes.
So the additional 15 million that you want when you redo your water sewer processing, is it gonna upgrade the existing one or you're gonna build another one?
It's upgrading the existing
Okay.
one.
Interesting.
I'm learning a lot about all that. Didn't know anything about that stuff. It's interesting what they have to
But
do.
that's water and sewer, what about power capacity like electricity and things like that?
We're served by Excel and Minnesota Valley Electric.
And they have plenty right now?
Sorry?
They have plenty too?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
They love new business too. Everybody likes to sell more.
So when I come to Cologne for library meetings, I just come here. Is there a downtown area somewhere? Or like,
Well, it's not much of a downtown.
Okay.
It's do you ever go north on the other side towards Waconia?
no,
Well, that would be where you would see what they would call our the
Okay.
original downtown
Okay.
is over there.
It's like
so
Old
most
Town.
people have to go to
Old-
Waconia for
yeah.
groceries and stuff,
Yes,
yeah.
yep.
Okay.
When Hans Hagen was developing this in 2006, it was slated to have a grocery store over there, that's why they call it Market Drive, but then 2008 happened and everything stopped. And I don't think a grocery store will go in there because, I mean, Chaska lost Cooper's.
Yeah,
There's now a Costco. What?
Yes,
yeah.
that's Costco.
Oh, did you not know
Yeah,
that?
he
Oh, that must say
It's
how.
been the buzz at Chaska for 9 years.
it was supposed to be a different location initially.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so, and McIntoons is right down, I mean, I, there's different thoughts on that. I think it's okay to have it be a bedroom community and drive.
Do you have a
It's
Dollar
only-
General?
No.
Oh.
That'll be the next thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can honestly say, I live out this way towards Belle Plaine, and they just got a Dollar General. It opened up, I haven't been in it. But they have groceries and stuff there too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about eateries, like restaurants around here?
Not much. The bar food, like 212 and Pounders. There's 3 places. Corral, yeah. The apartment complex, if had that come in, then the next thought was going to be that a Quick Trip would come in, like behind Security Bank there. But a Quick Trip or a Hy-Vee little mini mart thing, they won't come unless there's apartments
Okay.
within walking distance. It's all very methodical, and that's why the city looks the same everywhere you go. There,
Yeah.
it's apartments going first, and then the Quick Trip will pop up and whatever, but, so, that's what's going on in our world.
Any development on the coffee shop that was a coffee shop and now it's not?
Yeah.
Right here?
Yes,
Is that gonna,
I just spoke to Gracia from the Communities of Belonging. She introduced me to someone, don't remember her name because it was just in passing. But there is someone who's opening, it's more than a coffee shop. She's actually there's a kitchen over there. The kitchen services lunch for here,
Oh, okay.
for the school. And when it's not busy with the school time stuff, she's gonna have sandwiches and soup and stuff. The previous person who was running it was just coffee and very limited food, and she's trying to expand it to have some more real lunch offerings and food offerings. And I know that there's been work over there, like the drive-up board is now kind of looks like it's hooked up,
Good.
and I've seen a vehicle, so,
good, thank you.
yeah. So,
Okay. Any other questions for Michelle about Cologne?
thanks for all you do. I appreciate having a library, that's
Thank
for
you.
sure.
Thank you.
For
Thank
popping
you.
in.
Thanks for
You guys
Thank
have
you
a
so
good
much.
night.
Okay.
You want open?
That's fine, yeah, that's fine.
Nobody here really, so. Jim, do you have any public input?
My only input would be to wonder why the largest city in Carver County doesn't have the largest library in Carver County.
Here.
That's
I'm gonna
provocative.
put the mayor of Chaska on and we can have him talk to that.
Yeah.
That'd be okay.
Is Chaska bigger than Chanhassen?
They're about the same.
About the same?
Yeah, I
Okay.
remember they just gave us the figures at 27, I think.
Was it?
I
Okay.
think
Yeah,
Chaska's
last
just a little
Just a
larger
smidge.
population.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just a
But I
smidge.
think it's land wise, is it bigger too? I think it's bigger too land wise. No,
Maybe.
Chanhassen
because China is blocked already. And Chaska
runs
goes out.
Chanhassen runs all the way down to the river,
Right.
so I'm not sure.
But it stops at 41 on the highway 5 side.
But it extends into Hennepin County also,
On the north side.
northeast.
Okay, we have 3 action items. One is a policy that, not sure who's gonna,
I can
Jody?
take that. Sure.
Okay,
So we are bringing back our public conduct policy to you all today with some additional recommendations. It wasn't that long ago truly that we had reviewed this, but this is stemming from some staff experiences and concerns and questions. It really started with the question about consumption and use and possession of alcohol in the library spaces. So initially, we planned to go to the county attorney to work with them on language for that, and at the same time decided, well, we should address cannabis as well, since knowing that the county was addressing that. So we've got 2 bullet points on the first page that address those pieces. And then the third bullet point on the other side is in reference to sleeping in the library. And although, yes, sometimes people nod off and there's really no harm to that, but there can be some instances where staff or management may need to point to a policy because there becomes some challenges or issues surrounding that. So we, with all of these too, I should say, we really looked to our MELSA system surrounding us as guides to gauge where we're at with it. The sleeping, I think, is very much modeled on what Hennepin County has in their policy as well. So it's, you know, staff and management, not to speak for you all since you're in the room, but it's, you know, it's huge to have a policy to point to support when we're trying to address something in our spaces. So nonetheless, we're bringing that to you for
Yeah.
any questions or potential approval then to add these additional bullet points and update that.
So just out of curiosity, are people showing up at the library inebriated, or have you found somebody like doing it
Yes.
on site? Okay. Yeah, good to have policy. Okay.
I think it's good too preemptively, because if we do expanded access, this becomes, it's less a reality, although it's a chance, it's more of a perception. And Paul, you can speak to it from previous library systems and whatnot. It always pops up if you're gonna have additional hours and there's not staff there. Needles, sex, drugs, blah, 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 blah. So it's good to preemptively have that on hand.
How would you enforce it? Like, I mean, possession, use, or consumption. So if they had something, or you smell something, you would then be able to enforce it. Would it be more of a, like if a librarian smells it, then all it has to be visual that they see something. Like you can smell someone with alcohol breath in their breath, or if they smoke weed, you can smell the weed coming in the door.
You know, I think in some cases you have to use your best judgment, like if they're causing a, what's the best word I'm looking for?
Disruption.
Disruption, yeah.
Thank you, yeah. And then it's, you know, at that point, are you able to approach them safely as a staff member? You know, and may need to ask them to exit. If it becomes, you know, as you move through that process, you may have to call the sheriff in for support if needed. But, you know, again, it really points back to if there's a disruption that's happening, or obviously if you can visibly see that they're carrying in something, but you may not approach someone that has, you know, you may not know what's in their Stanley, whatever, yeah, exactly.
Sip test.
As she takes a sip and it's red. Wine.
Yeah, just curious. I mean, you know, especially if someone, and I'll say, I didn't know how it smelled like one day until I told my kid, "What is that smell?" And he goes, "Dad, that's weed." I'm like, "Really?"
Yeah, it smells
I
like
can't handle the smell. It really turns me off.
You can smell a car in California. I'm driving by.
Yeah.
I experienced that. I said, "What's that? Where are the skunks? It smells just like that." And on a 6-lane highway, how could that be?
Well, it's totally legal in Canada, so I was there this summer, and yeah, it's weird to just walk down the street and I smelled it every time, but yeah.
In Colorado it is too. So I was gassing up one time in Colorado at Costco, and then I was like, "What is the smell?" Right? And then the entire station of where you're gassing up just smells of it.
Wow,
And I'm like, "Whoa! I hope the guy's not driving."
yeah, I know. Okay, any other questions on this? It seems pretty straightforward, so we just need a motion to approve the policy changes to public conduct in the library.
I make a motion to approve the additional policies to the Carver County Library policy.
Is there a second?
Second?
Okay. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
I
Okay.
just like the fact that you had the sleeping one day. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why we added it, Charles. We got our eyes
Now
on
I
you.
can't sleep
Well,
there.
those couches in the magazine room are pretty cozy. Yeah.
Just rent one of the little cube in Chanhassen and then you can go take a nap.
Okay, next we always at this meeting approve the dates and locations, I guess, for the 2025 advisory board schedule.
Are we still considering
I was gonna ask the question.
every other year, month?
Not based on what you all discussed
I
last.
changed my mind. Honestly, I started thinking about it for this whole month. Because I thought if we tried it, yes, we are jumping in, but I think we will discover something, that it can be done. Our meetings would, be tighter with less discussion that might not be pertaining. Because if you just drop out 1 month, I was thinking July, you'd probably like to drop one, especially during June or July, when you were so busy with your summer program. But then you couldn't tell, it wouldn't lift the administrators' work on it. All the time put in to type all of this stuff every month, not to mention your reports and presentations. I just thought it was interesting to try. It was kind of surprising when you brought it up. I never thought about it. But then when you announced that Anoka County, which I am assuming by far they have more than 6 branches, were able to do the business every other month. Maybe you don't want to decide it today, well, you almost have to if you approve this. Also, I told you my notes are at home, but I wrote down how, like, dropping February and so on, it was even. We had the same number of meetings west. It was every other. It worked out nicely so that we were visiting each area, rotation. So we are looking, I think, less work for you.
Well, and I don't know that we look at it that way, because we have a pretty streamlined process, I would say, right now.
Mhm.
Knowing, when reports need to be submitted, and Susan
That's
Blatz
right.
has quite a process to
Yes.
keep everyone in line for it.
Yeah, you would. I know everything is planned, but could it be tighter?
As a new member of the library board, I was like, please don't move it to only every other, because I learned so much. I learned so much about the community and how this all works, having the meetings more often.
And the manager's reports are very valuable.
Yeah, I didn't know that I would be hearing from the city administrators and other individuals, and I feel like a more well-rounded citizen of Carver County, having the opportunity to hear from those people. That's just, I like it monthly.
I'm sure I felt that way on my first year, second year, and
Right?
so on.
I know, and that's what I'm like, I don't know, maybe with a longer tenure, you're like, oh, but having only been here like 6 months, I'm still very excited about it.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
We're so glad about that,
Yeah.
too.
I'm just looking back at how we did it in the minutes. I thought we left it that we'd stick with the schedule, but Jody and staff should feel very comfortable canceling a meeting if the agenda's especially light, or,
Yeah. Just
there's
not
a weather
long-
concern or
yeah.
whatever it is.
Right.
But I don't know if we've ever said that out loud before or documented that, so that's how I kind of left it. And, summer is an obvious choice. Christmas, I see, or
Yeah,
December,
is
you
on
already
there.
don't have it on there.
So we did we took December off of there, and I was gonna leave it all up to you if there was a summer month, say July, which could make sense because of the holiday, and summer reading program is a busy month for us, so we could take that off the table as well. From just to your point, Jan, too, one advantage of keeping more frequent meetings is if we do have urgent business that comes up that we need to address, then we have a meeting in place. Because of open meeting laws, we have to be really careful of anything outside of, doing, we can't do any business outside of this meeting unless we call special meetings. So that would be, I think, on the flip side, to keep more frequency, if that makes sense. Yep.
So how, right now, when you have meetings, maybe I know that you put it on the website to say, okay, we're going to have this meeting at such and such a date.
Mhm.
Is there any other form of communication that you are using on that one? Like,
We've added it to the brochure, the quarterly brochure.
Right.
And the agendas are always posted publicly in all of our library spaces, so many days in advance of the meeting per open meeting law guidance of the calls, so.
Of course, people understand whether weather isn't quite right. You have closed libraries, and even though it is announced here, people have to check.
I think I asked this question, what's the lead time you need to announce public-wise before you cancel a meeting?
I don't-
4 weeks?
Oh, that would be big.
Oh, I don't
No.
think
I don't
so.
think there's any rule on canceling a meeting. It's
It's,
control of when you throw in an extra meeting.
Well, we did have an issue. It was in Victoria. I arrived, but you canceled it. For some reason, we didn't announce something. That's what I was told. I met you in Matt, you caught me in the parking lot, remember that? And so we went touring. We toured something that was new in the community. But something did happen there, and it had to do with our not announcing.
and I don't know if that was tied
It was August.
to the virtual piece at that point.
Might be. It
And
was.
Heidi was still, yeah, because I remember, yeah, I just can't remember off the top of my head.
It was August, Victoria. Well,
So,
I like what you were saying, Gwen. That at least dropping that 1 month for you in July. Of course, you want to look to see rotation-wise for the topics to see how that works out.
And we would still, if we need to adjust locations, we would still be able to do that too, so.
Mhm.
The thing is, I think if you drop July, then you want to maybe replace Mayor with another date, because like China has it twice, or Wakone has it twice. Maybe you have. No, we wanted to
Chaska has
to be
it.
at every single location in the calendar year.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I don't know, is it required, when you guys talked about canceling meetings if it's, bad weather or for whatever reason, a lighter agenda, is that something that we need to document somewhere, that we might do that? Or that's a possibility? I don't know.
I don't know that we need to document it.
Okay,
That
yeah.
I've come across,
Okay.
in the bylaws, so.
Okay.
Good question.
or just
Yep.
include it in the minutes.
Sure,
Yeah.
okay.
As an intention.
We're doing it for all of you, staff, not ourselves, to make your work lighter.
What do you think?
Not, we,
Try to get.
Yeah, well, I think I like the every month because for what Gwen was saying, but I think, yeah, if you're going to take out July, it would be important to, then you'd have to move locations. So Mayor has a location 1 year or during the year. But I could see, I mean, either way, if you were to sit, not maybe this year, but if you were to do it every other month, would you prepare basically 2 months worth and then just do it anyways? Okay. So it'd be the same amount of work basically for, okay.
So I am hearing that probably the consensus is that we keep it on a radar for discussion, but for 2025, we'll go ahead with this schedule and have Jody and staff, if the agenda's especially light, to feel confident in canceling a meeting with whatever the right notice is for the public.
I would work with the president, whoever's or chair of the board
Yeah.
to work through that.
Okay, does everybody okay with that? That's voting? Yeah,
Sounds good.
Yeah.
okay.
Do we need to vote on that?
So I'll make a motion that what I just said, that's what we're gonna do.
That was the motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the 2025 meeting schedule, but with a caveat that if our agenda is super light, that we will cancel that monthly meeting.
I second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
I
Aye.
Okay. Moving on, Dalkey. So who was our rep? Was it?
Me.
You, okay, cool. Yeah, there's a lot this year.
Yeah, so we had 4 grant applications that came forward. We met early last week, and Stacy, many thanks to you for serving as the library board rep. We had Kevin representing the branch managers, Nick Koktavi, our assistant county administrator, and then a longtime friend of the Waconia Library, Georgia Storms, as well, and she's also been a active master gardener, has partnered with us as well, so very familiar with the libraries and the library system as a whole. So it was a really great group to work with. So there are 4 proposals that the group passed unanimously last week. And so we're bringing these forward to your group today for potential recommendation to move ahead to the Carver County Board of Commissioners. That's our process in the grant application. So just to touch briefly, to summarize, hopefully you've all had a chance to look through those applications. One is for adult services, essentially funding staff-led program kits for the next 5 years, which would allow,
Isn't it 3 years to 20,
or did I read?
27?
It was $3,000 for the next 5 years, yeah.
Oh, that spreads out quite
Yeah.
well.
So that was the first one. We also have a Learning for All Adult Language Learners grant, which is continuing work from what we've been already doing, but expanding with 3 areas of additional collection for adult language materials, particularly honing in on Spanish as a starting point, which we've already been doing quite a bit of foundational work with, outreach, and then community engagement and programming. So I'm giving a really high level overview, but we'll have some time for discussion, obviously, and questions. Our 3rd grant for library expanded access at the Victoria branch. And the group voted to fund a 3-year startup at Victoria with that. And then the last one is called Video Magic, which is essentially what are called Padcaster kits. And this is essentially a media grab-and-go kit, so that staff, this was really driven, that staff often end up using their personal devices when they're out doing outreach or taking photos or videos, and really being able to have a package that they could easily grab if they're going out to outreach and be able to capture video and photos efficiently and effectively without, obviously one of the big pieces is having to use their own devices, personal devices for that. So very high level. Stacy, I'm looking at you if you want to weigh in on your experience with what you throughout the whole process. So.
Yeah, well, I will say that, it was a tight time frame. I think Jody sent them out on like a Friday afternoon, and our meeting was maybe the following Tuesday. So I read them, and you're so responsive even over the weekend. I didn't expect to hear from you right away, but I was like, oh my gosh, can't we approve of all of them? And then that's when she's like, well, actually, we might be able to because we have so much money. I thought it was really good. Nick and Georgia had great questions about all of them. I did as well. We walked through kind of some of the details. It's exciting to see. And the other thing was it was important to him that we do something kind of big with this money, and that's where he was very supportive of the Victoria expanded service because we can attach the Dalkey grant name to the availability of that for the community. He thought that that was important, that we not just have small things, but a bigger impact as well. So I thought it was great, and I'm excited that we could do all of them.
And so as a reminder, we can only fund up to $100,000 per year in the grant program, and these all just shy,
made it.
they're just a little over $98,000 if we're to fund all of them for this year, which would be the largest amount that we've funded through the Dalkey program. Kevin has,
So what was the cost? I see 3 options on the Victoria. Was it the
This is the second one, the
Yeah, the
60.
63,000?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
699.
Wow.
bless you.
Bless
Those are
you.
my- those are my-
Yeah, that's a good point, because they're kind of flying under the radar a little bit, yeah.
And then the only other thing I'll call out, because I saw it and it just kind of, I think I'm still confused about it, but I trust Kevin, is the Spanish, the adult services kind of focusing on Spanish. There's a note that Chaska has the highest percentage of Hispanic Latino community members in Carver County. But then when we're actually funding the collection, a larger percentage is going to Chanhassen. And I was wondering why that was. And it was kind of like, well, it's a bigger library, so they need more stuff. But I just was like, that's so interesting. Why would we spend more money where there's less people?
Until Chaska gets his new library.
Oh, right, I know that's what it hinges on, right? So do I need to start going to those meetings too? I'm pretty
Yes.
persuasive. I'm pretty
Yes.
persuasive. But it was really great, and I'm excited that we can potentially do all of these.
Can the ones that you said the others were so fine too, you would have liked to have them all?
Oh, yeah, the Video Magic, not Video Magic, excuse me. Maybe it was Video Magic. The Padcasters, right? The Padcasters?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just see, I see the library staff using them, I mean, probably almost every day for the different programming that's available. There's an opportunity for live streaming with this device, which I thought is pretty cool. If you're doing something in the library that not everyone can attend, it opens up that the ability for other people to be able to participate as well.
So is that Padcaster just for iPads only, or can you use it
I
on tablets?
think
I can
it's-
answer that.
Okay,
It's an adjustable frame, so we're just buying the frame basically. So it's any tablet with a camera in the right place basically. And they all tend to be kind of in the same corner.
So the camera is like Bluetooth?
Um,
Because a lot of these tablets already have cameras, but then
mhm.
if you want a higher definition camera, I'm assuming it's Bluetooth?
There are additional lenses that you can attach to the
To
frame.
the frame camera, I
Yeah.
understand that.
Yeah. Everything is done within the iPad or the tablet itself. The Padcaster it's basically the tripod. It's
light?
the lights, it's a green screen,
Yeah.
it's microphones, yeah, it's a whole setup.
But
Yeah.
then it's a backpack, it's.
Yeah, it fits
big.
into a backpack, yeah.
And the cost is for
Amazing.
two of these for the library to have at, different locations, which I thought was a good sort of bang for your buck as well, getting 2 versus just 1.
Well,
But-
about the others, can they come back and present the good ones that you also read? The other applications?
Sorry, I might not be understanding.
Has this happened, or were there more? Did you select some out of the total?
Oh, no, these were the 4 that were presented.
Oh,
And
every
we were,
one.
and we were lucky enough to be able to say yes to all 4.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, right? I don't know if that's common, but.
So the I'm always thinking of technology. So that the Padcaster stuff, is that, did you guys already looked at which option to go after, or this is something that you kind of priced? Because you have a pricing there, I'm assuming you put the
We talked to the company
Yeah.
and that price is actually set according to something that hadn't come out yet, so it's wireless microphones. So, yeah, we already got the pricing directly from the company
And that's for two, right?
for two. Yeah, we're thinking on each corner of the county.
Okay, so do we have to officially make a motion to approve the recommendations? Okay.
I have one question
I would
about the
abstain.
You have
kids
more
for,
questions?
kids for adults,
Okay.
the ones that would be created in-house. Are they always directed by staff, or can they be available just to pick up? Adults come in and they can choose some of the kits that they'll be self-directed in any way.
The intent was that these would all be led by staff.
And then therefore you didn't have to hire a vendor.
Right, and we would have flexibility with the number of people who are in attendance as well. Because let's say we kind of budget for 20 at Chaska, but if 24 show up, we can easily replenish for when we send it off to Chanhassen, for example. So we're using the talents that we have in-house for this.
Sounded terrific.
And I'd add that this is really, it's building off of the process that we've been using with the youth services team for a couple of years now, and you've heard us discuss some about the storage that we're not doing just at Norwood Young America, but that's the location where we had some space and where we've got a lot of the youth kits stored. And then the management of this, the booking, so that if Kevin knows that he's doing a program on October 27th, that he's gonna get the kit on the 26th and have it in this, ready. So that materials booking module is a component of our automation system. It's used for checking books out and placing holds on things, but a booking is different than just placing a hold because you want the material to come to you on a specific date.
Cool.
So
Oh,
we're
this
building off of work that's already been done and expanding it to another programming team, which is awesome.
Oh, it's-
And the
it's
idea
like
is
a-
then we have, let's say we make 3 of these kits for one season. We have 3 programs for every branch immediately. And then any money that we want to spend that we normally would have spent to bring in a contractor can go to some specialized program instead.
Are these kids, just one more question about it before, are they for everybody or are they just for talented artsy people? I've wondered about that. And the reason I have that question is I've seen it done in our local Auburn healthcare, nursing care. The things that they produce at Auburn Nursing, you would not believe. I wondered, and I'm sure they create it in, and they have one later for it. But my question was, when you have vendors in, I haven't attended these, so are these for people that are very artsy, talented, or could these be kits for some of us who would like to join?
I would say
Yeah.
our philosophy is that it's
All levels,
all
yeah.
levels, we want it to be accessible, and have that opportunity available. I mean, yes, we've had knitting classes that you have to work through the whole series, so hopefully build on your skills too, but again, it's going back to that being accessible, and that was one of the ideas or kind of driving forces behind this too, is that with our vendors, it's very limited how many attendees can come versus this is gonna allow us to, I think, have a little bigger registration numbers, more opportunities, so.
Okay. I like the word levels, especially there.
I just have a simple question. The Victoria Library, when you're expanding the hours, and I think what I understand is that you're looking at going with option 2. And that would seem that the subscription is about $26,000, is that right? Every 3 years right now?
pass mine down to
Maybe
Commissioner.
26,000, 25,006, seven, something like that. So when after 3 years it's expired, will they come back to the Gawkey, or will the city have to pick up the difference going forward?
So we talked about a couple different options. One obviously would be as we evaluate this new added service component, we would, obviously we'll be gathering data and we may go to the county to support this moving forward if we see that it's really successful. And then part of that option too would be looking to MELSA. We have some technology and agency funds available that could help support the continued service as well. So we definitely talked about the sustainability piece. That's huge if we're gonna take this.
Right. And then is there a vision to scale this into the other libraries?
There's a possibility, yep, absolutely. Obviously we've all been talking about the new Chaska. I mean, that's an ideal situation where you could build it out, really plan for it.
Right.
There could be other parts of the model that, we could look at for other branches. It's just it can be challenging to retrofit, an existing building. But I think it's important that we keep an open mind about it too. But that's why we saw Victoria as just a great starting point, so we can learn about it and learn from the community. That's going to be a really important piece too, is how that community, if they're utilizing that service and gathering their feedback and input along the way too.
And last question is, I'm looking at the schedule here. Maybe it's a typo, but that's an April 2024 item here.
Oh, that might just be a typo.
Okay, so
Yep.
make sure that,
Yep, that's a 2025. Yep,
Okay.
thanks, Charles.
So March, you were thinking it would be ready by March? You were talking about the Victoria technology would be all installed and the special
I think it's August, right?
door
Yeah.
lock.
Yeah, I think August.
Not until
or
late summer.
September. Yeah.
Early
Oh,
fall.
September,
Yep.
sorry.
Yeah.
The next page out there.
Oh, okay.
It's
For the notes, for the minutes,
Right
what
here.
page are we on?
Six,
Here
page
it- oh,
6
okay,
of
thank you.
the expanded library access, extended access Victoria Library.
how much, and I guess, shame on me because I haven't been to the Victoria Library. How big is it compared to like Chaska and all? Or I haven't been to that.
Footprint is much smaller than Chaska, maybe 1/4 the size.
So if people want to come in to study, is there a lot of space for study?
Yeah, there's 2 huge tables at the beginning, and then there's 3 small study tables. But the building was originally built with this idea of having it be this community hub where people could come and work on projects.
Right.
So there's 16 chairs, study chairs at the beginning, and then there's 6 additional study chairs along the side, and there's some nice comfy chairs all along. So there's plenty of seats for people.
Okay.
But no study rooms
Correct.
where there would be privacy.
Correct.
Okay, just thought I'd ask.
Absolutely.
Couple of things, if I may. There's I think a movement within the library community in partnership with public health, that maybe in 3 years there's public health money that could come to the table, because libraries are more than books in a box, and I think we're seeing that in an emerging way. I think there's some tests being done at the state level, but we'll see that play out over time. Jody's right about MELSA. There's more dollars that are coming this way, and it's good that there's a plan to be had there. Jody shared with me that you can rip this stuff out and transport it to a different library if you want to. And one of the costs associated, did you get it?
No, I thought I was imagining it,
You're pulling on Mike Pence.
Yeah.
But that's awesome to know, and I know that sometimes it's infrastructure costs for safety for staff. Is there physical stuff needed to retrofit the back of the house so that when somebody comes in mid-shift or being like the people that are there early, then they come into to gather their items, that there's security for their break room or where they put their belongings?
Yeah, it's already locked down.
Okay.
And then we'll have to go put much of the
Where is it?
stuff that's
Get it?
out in the
You cannot
circulation
go
area and reference
vertical, you
area,
need to go
we
lateral.
can lock up in
You
drawers.
get it.
Got it. And then it just hit my ears from a meeting space, because I do think we're starting a meeting space, particularly on like Mondays when Roost isn't open, where you can duck in and grab a cup of coffee. But maybe through the process, City of Victoria would maybe open up their boardroom in there in the meeting room that's upstairs. So I don't want to make this bigger than it has to be,
Yeah.
but while you're talking about the technology, it might be a good question to ask. The other thing I wanted to offer, Kevin, my kids go to La Academia, so all the statistics you have in there about the Hispanic population are true and growing, and it's the world we live in. We talk about physical infrastructure a lot, social infrastructure is changing. I just ask that you touch base with somebody or multiple people at La Academia.
Oh, definitely.
Because they can help advise, and maybe there's some synergies where they're making purchases that we could do on their behalf or vice versa.
Right.
Yeah, so they're just right up the hill, and I think they've been a good partner.
Yep.
Okay, any other comments on the Dalkey recommendations? Okay, looks like Jan's ready to make a motion.
I think I'm done. Oh, you want me to make the motion for
Yeah.
all three? Last time I thought we did them one by one.
Oh,
Do we have
You
to
can
do
do all
them
three.
one by one?
yeah, because we're just,
Right there, four.
the Stacy's group did all the work, we're just,
And move, oh, you want me to move? Okay. I make a motion that we accept all of the Dalkey proposals.
okay,
I second.
thank you, Charles. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried, on to the commissioners, right?
Yes, onward
Okay.
to the commissioner, so that'll be next steps. So,
This is awesome, thank you.
So I have kind of a, I don't want to get into a big discussion here, but whatever happened with the, I forget what it was called, the
Budget?
video
Oh.
legacy?
Oh, I know, they're replicating the VHS.
Yeah,
The
media
media con-
conversion project.
I
Yep,
also did the
it's
same thing.
still on a back burner, waiting for a time block when we can make sure that once we begin it, that we can sustain it.
okay,
It's not forgotten about by any stretch of the imagination.
Okay.
Every month, a review with Jody where I am with my time or limitations of it.
okay,
It's not forgotten, and I believe that discussions here were that it needed to be, something needed to happen by the end of this calendar year.
Okay.
And so that's not out of the realm of possibilities.
okay,
And then your team had bumped up against some technology challenges.
Right, one of
with
the issues,
software too.
a
Yeah.
real one is that the Roxio software that we've selected runs okay on the Windows platform that we have. And I'm off the top of my head, I'm not remembering whether it was Windows 10 or 11, but wherever that device was, the laptop that we purchased and its version of Windows, Roxio was doing okay with converting the video and spoken audio, but not music audio, right? I mean, this is like a go figure kind of thing, that we bumped into this. And so the tech staff has spent a significant amount of time troubleshooting and trying to work with both the Windows as well as Roxio software companies to resolve this, and have just hit a dead end with it. So we have some other options, but right now that was one of the tech pieces that we hit as a headache. And other than that, I think it really is just being able to be sure that once we
It's
start
more than
to
one.
roll this out with the public, that we can be sure that we can sustain the staff time that's going to be required on the front line.
okay.
Thanks for asking.
Just
Yeah.
curious, is it a Windows 11 laptop?
Do you remember, Kevin, which?
Because I think a lot of softwares are upgrading to 11. and they're not that well
I want to say it
compatible.
was a 10,
Yeah.
but yeah, there were no fixes. We were only able to record music in older Windows versions for some reason.
You only can record in older window version, not
It
newer
worked
one?
just as advertised on old computers, but not the one that was purchased for the purpose of this project, yeah.
Right. Because we've had, I mean, Kevin has a fair amount of good, I'm understating it, a lot of experience with video type things. Bob Lincoln has as well, and several of the other staff. And so,
Do you have a Mac version?
that raises a whole separate.
Yeah,
set of
that's,
issues,
Yeah.
yeah.
To introduce
It-
Mac
Different
technology.
operating
Yeah,
system.
it's a
yeah.
whole added expense
Right.
that wasn't planned for.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's move on to number 6, quarterly strategic plan task review.
Sure, and I just shared printouts with you today, so I know you haven't had a chance to look at it. So I'm not gonna spend too much time on it, I just wanted to offer you all the opportunity to see where we're at this point of the year. We're making good progress, absolutely. A huge, the staff are doing a terrific job in their team meetings. They're very intentional about checking in on these tasks to make sure they're making progress, and a huge thanks to the branch managers for keeping the teams on task as well, and keeping moving forward with this work, and keeping it at the forefront of what we're doing throughout the year. So certainly can try to answer any questions, but again, primarily just wanted to bring it to your attention today. Know that we're actively working on it and doing our best to complete everything by year's end, although there are occasional years where we end up rolling some things over to the following year. And this is, as a reminder, is part of a new 5-year plan that we adopted and put into place last year in 2023. If I'm remembering that correctly. And we'll go through 2027, so.
So since we only have one more meeting this year, if anybody does have questions on this after you get home, maybe bring it to the next meeting to
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
check in.
That'd be
Okay.
fun. That'd be great.
Okay, summer reading program update. Paul.
Yeah, thank you. So one of the more joyous tasks in my year is to review with the library board, the library foundation, the friends groups, and some of the community partners that we work with, what this past year had been with the summer reading program. So you received in your board packet, I believe, email,
Get it?
the packet that is stapled together, that on the top of it says evaluation reports. And then separately today, I gave to you a clipped together packet, and I'm gonna reference both of those a little bit, and I am planning to keep this brief. So, but if I can steal,
Yes.
just as we keep this next to us, okay?
Yes.
So the executive summary, on pages 2, 3, pages 2 and 3, we outlined there the goals that we have for the summer reading program. And I slipped the word have in there because we've actually had these as goals for a long time. They predate me, and I've been here 10 years now. Each year in the winter time leading up to the next summer, the youth services team reviews these and affirms so far that these are worthy goals that we would like to continue to strive toward. What I like to do is just kind of reshuffle a little bit of what's the information's in the executive summary and talk about each of those goals, where the resources are coming in, and what the measures are for achieving those goals. So the first goal is to that the youth maintain their reading skills over the summer, right? Very well known, the issue of summer slide of students when they leave school in May or June. If they're not reading over the summer, then when they return to school in September, they have lost some of their reading skills. There's been an erosion. And so what we're trying to do is incentivize and track the reading, the incentivizing, if you will, comes in the form of the children when they achieve the reading activities that we're looking for. That's what we're using as a measure. They receive a free book. Okay. The funding for that comes to us from the library, the Friends of the Library groups. And this is not necessarily a one-to-one, but when we take a look at our overall income and expense report, it lines up pretty well. So I think for purposes of discussion, to say that the funding that is coming in from the Friends of the Library groups, the 6 of them, all together combined, allow us to then provide children that achieve the measure of the reading activities that they receive a free book. And it works well. And when we take a look on page 4 at the children that are and completed 5 or more reading activities, is we see that our measure this year is almost close to where we had been at a previous high level mark in 2019 prior to the pandemic. But it has grown steadily since the pandemic, so we're getting there. And so that's been a very good measure. The reading activity forms, when you go to your clip together packet, is you'll see that we have reading activities that are designed, that are age appropriate for pre-K, for school-age children, and for teens. And they use, either they can enter and track their activities online using the Beanstack app, right? It's an app that's downloaded to their device, and we use that same app each year, and they just enroll again each year in each program. And so they can data enter them there, or they can use the paper form and hand it in at the library, and then our staff data enter it. But all that data eventually gets all channeled through one place. So one of the beauties, there are many beauties of the Beanstack software package that we use for our reading programs, and we use it for 3. Summer reading, 1,000 books before kindergarten, and adult winter reads. One of the beauties is the data that it gives us a handle on, which up until we started using it really eluded us. Right? So, so the first goal is keep the kids reading. Very simple, and make it a little bit of fun. Try and channel that, and then provide an incentive at the other side of it. The second is to increase their reading comprehension. The way we measure that is through book reviews. That has skyrocketed. When you take a look at the numbers on page 4, we far exceed where we had been previously in 2019 with a high measure, and it continues to grow each year. The incentives that are a part of that come to us with funding from the Library Foundation, where we purchase gift certificates to Barnes & Noble, and then the tickets that we get from MELSA, our regional library system, is they work with sponsors that are MELSA-wide, right? And that is the Minnesota Twins, Sea Life, and the State Fair. And in some years, they had Crayola as a sponsor. So when the children or the teens enter the book reviews, they get put into a drawing, into a pool. And then we run drawings a couple of times throughout the summer to keep the interest level going. It is my interpretation of the data, and just this is one person's opinion, right? And that is that I think these incentives that we receive from MELSA, in addition to the gift certificates that the Library Foundation is purchasing, really show they're connecting. The kids they're motivated, right? The third is that children learn. And we have workshops that we schedule. Some are staff-led, some are where we engage outside contractors, teaching professionals with STEM, art, crafts. Some years we've had either music or theater type of acting and things like that. So each year we work on trying to keep that fresh, but also keeping in the schedule also the popular ones. And the funding from that typically comes to us through MELSA. Each year we receive funding for youth programming and youth initiatives from MELSA, And throughout the entire calendar year is we use that funding, but it really, we load up a lot during the summer, knowing that kids, school-age kids especially, will have time during the summer that they don't really have during the school year. And there, our numbers have continued to grow. And the fourth area, our goal is that they have enriching experiences. Historically and typically that will be our what we call performers, where we're having outside people, presenters, musicians, theater groups, juggler, Brodini the magician, who's been with us every year forever, and these are popular. And within the presentations, frequently they're either referencing back to books and reading, or pulling in content from books and things. Not always, but sometimes. So one of the evolutions for us since the pandemic, when we couldn't have these large events, is we brought them back, but we haven't brought back as many per year. And so it's been a conscious shift on the part and the judgment of the librarians to keep some performers. There's value to them, there's no doubt about it. It makes the summer reading program very popular. You ask a kid or a family where the child maybe is now a grown adult, said, what do you remember for a summer reading program? And they're saying, oh, Brodini, And so, there is an engagement there that has great value. But otherwise, as we're leaning right now a little bit more towards having the smaller group learning experiences and putting our funding that we're getting from MELSA and Legacy, the state Legacy amendment, is doing a little more with the smaller group learning experiences. And we're seeing overall, when you take a look at page 4 on the very down towards the bottom, where it says engagement in all events and activities, what you'll see is that our engagement level really overall, when we lump in all together, the performers, the virtual programs, the in-person programs, story time, passive programming, all that stuff, all lumped together, is the numbers continue to grow. So we believe that we're using the resources well that are provided to us from MELSA, the state legacy, the Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund, our friends groups, and the Library Foundation. And staff just, it's incredible to me as a manager to watch the way the staff work together and planning, trying to pull in fresh content, but also keeping in the suite of things that we're doing, the things that also are popular and people keep asking for. I mean, I think we'd have a revolt if we didn't have Houdini in the schedule each summer, So, and I say that lighthearted, but there's value there. So, a lot of great stuff happening, and kids go back to school having had a good summer reading.
Question, what is a literacy event?
Literacy events
Yeah.
will be, sometimes they're measured as story times, where there's also a craft activity involved. Those will also be book clubs, there's those type of things.
Yeah,
So-
because I see that story time dropped.
Correct.
But literacy event went up by almost 50% attendance
Right,
wise.
and that was where the story times that we've done, we've actually haven't reduced the number of them, but the definition of what is a story time versus what is a literacy event, some of that had been redefined a little bit by a work group at the state level, and that goes into the state report, and so that's where here it looks like a drop or a boost, when actually, when all that is added together, it comes out pretty close. But, so again, it's some of the, what we call super story times, for purposes of this statistic, are not counted as a story time. They're counted as a literacy event because they've got a learning activity in addition to the story time sitting around with a librarian as well.
And I also noticed that in 2024, there's 7,500 like self-directed activities. How do you?
Right, so this is a new count by
Right.
the state, And so these were showing up other places before, but we're also, and I think Kevin, you would agree with the adult services team as well, is we are more focused on providing learning opportunities that we call passive programs or self-directed. A great example that was started in the Norwood Young America and Watertown branches, I believe, about 2 or 3 years ago, that now has a regular rhythm at almost every branch, called Read, Stay, Play on Saturdays, typically is where it's been scheduled. This is with programming kits, right? So what we were just talking about with the adult team developing programming kits, these are programming kits that we've developed in-house, purchasing supplies. Typically the funding from that has come from MELSA, right? And so then these kits will move around from one library branch to another branch to another branch. And as we build out our collection, our suite of these kits, is branches are going to see the same thing every month, right? They're going to get something fresh. Maybe twice a year they'll see the same kit and the same program. And so that's part of what we're doing also with passive programming. And so then they come in and they experience this as a learning activity designed for adults, hopefully to help their children to engage with.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at it from 2018-19 to 2024, like, you can see that there's, like, attendance at performances. Is that Brodini?
Brodini.
Or do we reclassify that too, because that dropped dramatically from 2019?
The performers.
Yeah.
Well, we're scheduling about half the number at this point.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Just the number of programs over the course of the summer. Or, excuse me, performances, not programs, performances. Yeah.
Your staff deserves the standing O for implementing this big program.
Yeah. It really, it's incredible to see. And if anybody, if you've come into the library on a day when maybe there's a program going on, or and just even just, I mean, the mornings, Monday and Tuesday mornings, people are coming in after having been away for the weekend. They're coming in, they're reporting their reading and all that kind of thing. It's just a wonderful energy, it really is. And so we see these, if you want to look at them later, there's thank you notes there. The book reviews, these are the read, write, draw, right? Some kids will draw their review.
That's what that is.
And so this notebook, if you afterwards, if you want to thumb through, some of these book reviews are just, it's just wonderful, absolutely wonderful. Either what's written or what's drawn is their report back. My kid, you know, she's an artist now as an adult, but she would have been the kid that drew her book review. She might have written some too, but so, and that's just how trying to meet children where they are and how they express themselves.
Well, I notice in everything you have birth to whatever.
Correct.
What's the youngest you've ever gotten a book review?
Well, I don't know if I can answer that off the top of the head, other than the date is probably in. Okay, let's write this down. Right, let's stump Bubba for the next meeting.
There we go.
Let's see if I can find that answer for you, because on
Like this one, maybe.
their
Yeah.
ages are.
It doesn't say the age.
But in Beanstack there is. So, yeah.
When you go through early literacy training, particularly as a youth services librarian, and you learn how that even a scribble is, you know, building the initial, you know, foundational pieces that
Right.
edge you towards reading eventually. It's just incredible to learn how that all shapes up.
And thank you for making that point, Jody. We enthusiastically embrace an initiative from the American Library Association based on decades of research called Every Child Ready to Read. And in the current edition of that has gone through an evolution as new data comes in, talks about 5 practical ways that families can help their children with developing reading at those early ages. And play, sing, writing, reading, talking,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it may sound simple, and then in one way they're supposed to be simple. These are things that every single family can engage with. But and I'll throw my family under the bus. When I look at some of my family, right, I'm certain that the parents don't always intentionally engage with their children on all those elements with some of my grandkids, right? I mean, just sad to say, but it's true. Whether it's singing or reading, and some of those things. So we really try and lift that up, and again, try and incentivize it when we can.
Okay, well, thank you. I'm
Yes.
kind of watching
Yep,
the
I
clock
know.
here,
Yep.
so. Jody, you want to just go over the budget and your report?
Yes, I will. I will keep this brief in lieu of time. We're pretty much where we should be at in terms of the budget at this point of the year. Things are looking great. What we're primarily working on right now, we did go ahead and place the order for the new Chaska desk that you all approved. So that order has been placed. We're working on some other furniture replacements out in Northern America and Watertown. We've ordered some book trucks that were needed, and a new book bin for some of the Libros y Más Dalkey materials at Chaska to make more space for that. Looking at purchasing some replacement hotspots for some that are very long, lost, and overdue. And we do have, and we have budget for all of these pieces, so that's really what we're kind of honing in on right now. We had a budget meeting this morning and talked a lot about those pieces, making sure we have things in place, and then also following up on our PC rotation. Typically every year we try to target a different branch or two for upgrading to new PCs, so working on that piece as well. But otherwise, yep, we're in pretty good shape, I'd say. And even with stock budget, we talked about that for our sub-budget, which we always keep a close eye on, but we're looking good at this point of the year, so.
And if I'm remembering right, you won't know the final number, you said, till December from the county?
Oh, for the upcoming
Yeah.
year, correct, yes. The
Okay.
final 2025 budget won't pass until December.
Okay.
Yep, exactly. And then in terms of director's report, I just want to mention one piece that's going to be launching here by next week. We've already got virtual library card launched fully in Waconia with grades 6 through 12, but we are starting with Eastern Carver County District 112 later next week. We're starting with some 6th grade classes as pilots, but then as the year progresses, we'll continue to add more students' grades with the goal in mind of adding all of 6 through 12. So Bob said as of today, there were already 1,800 students who had opted in.
Oh, cool.
So,
How's Bob's stress level? Tell him thank you, please.
so just,
1,800, what's the goal?
that's a good question. I think we didn't.
What's the total number of students?
Right, what's the total number of
What's the
students?
total number of students, but for
Yeah.
grades 6 through 12, but
Right.
again, not everyone will opt in, that's
Huh.
the direction that we needed to go with it, so I'll find out.
They have just short of 10,000, so that's about 20% of their overall, but that doesn't include kindergartners through 6th. So I'm
Right.
guessing you're probably at close to half.
Wow.
Any feedback so far? Good, bad, or indifferent?
Just, I think they're excited.
I know the teachers are excited.
Would be curious to know if the overlapping catalogs are gonna save the taxpayer money, whether we absorb, we probably won't have to have multiple catalogs if there's overlap. I'd just like to know what the dollar amount associated with that is. I'm with the superintendent on Friday, and so if there's any way to get just a ballpark, I know it wasn't on you, it was on Chris Hench's, so if you could just ping him, it'd be helpful to have that number.
That was one of the things that we did try to kind of think out if we could find numbers
Yep.
on that, but I don't know that we were able to, because of data privacy and other things, if if we were able to really come up with a way to track it.
It'd be just, if there's a way to have like, whatever the district has as full catalogs, we should be able to get that. Whatever we have as full catalogs, and in my simple brain, if we can overlap those and say there's 10% or 20%, we can
Right.
assign a dollar amount to it.
Yeah.
And then maybe in the future, we don't have to both pay it. I also think that the education, most people don't know that we pay for a subscription through MELSA that allows one-to-one real-time tutoring digitally. So like a human with a human, even though they're not in the same room. And the potential of that closing learning gaps is probably understated and available to some of the teachers.
And when we did school visits for the Connect and Assess events at all the schools, that was one of the things that we tried to really tout were the homework help and some of the other resources that we get through MELSA that I know that the school doesn't have.
Great, thank you.
Okay, Patrick.
Page 1 of my report's a picture of Corey Dorfield, who is a local children's author, New York Times bestselling, and she came to Victoria. Actually, we'll be going through all the libraries, and that was arranged by Kristen, who is the librarian at Victoria. Page 3, we had Patty Weatherly, who most of you are familiar with, who came out to talk about her book, Dear Jacob. And then the last page of my report is not pictures, it's a chart. And it's just what the librarians at Shannon, Victoria have been up to. Because not everything they do gets a nice picture. So I wanted you just to have a chance to read their work. Thank you.
What was the attendance on the Waterlink thing? I wanted to accommodate the sports
I'm going to
complex.
say 69.
Oh,
It was between 60 and 70.
okay.
That's what I remember too, Patrick. Yeah.
It's a big historic name and event.
Kevin.
The one thing that I really want to be sure to talk about is the staff that normally aren't seen. They're upstairs in the administration working away. So there's been this huge project that we started this summer of taking a section of the children's books and kind of refiling them to make it a little easier for people to find. And it's a huge task, working through every branch of the library. And so I really needed to call out Lisa and Kristen and Kyle and Mindy, and we had a summer intern named Juan who really helped with this process as well, because all the books come into administration and then Lisa has to change the call number on it and the locations, and then it gets relabeled and then shipped back for the staff to put it away in the new spots. So it's a huge undertaking, but it's going to make life easier for not only the shelvers, but the random people who, like me, who don't have the whole section memorized. I'll just be able to find it, and so will parents and kids in particular.
Is it like by topic, or how is it changed?
It was organized by series, and so putting the series books into where all the other fiction books are, so that everything is alphabetical instead of two separate alphabetical sections.
I remember we talked about it before, and I thought it was level, that instead of having all of them spread out that are series, which I saw in Waconia, as neat as a pin, the way you have them all out there. But all, they were for youth and on. And so are you saying that now the series for the younger children are in a certain area?
They're the same level. It's just that the series were pulled out from the regular books. So for example, previously, so like Magic Treehouse, we'll say, where there's like 80 or more books, they were away from the regular fiction books. They were in a separate section. So for me coming in like a year ago, trying to help a kid try to find the Magic Treehouse books, I would go to the O's, because the author's last name is Osborne, and they're not here. They're in this other section over here. So now they're in one continuous spot. So they're, if you know the author and it's your favorite author, you should be able to hone in on where it is.
Got it. I see.
Cool. Good.
So staff isn't so confused.
Right, well, this staff anyway, yes.
Okay,
Well, it sounds like a
Paul,
lot of work.
a couple highlights
work.
from the Western libraries?
Yeah, while we're sitting in Cologne, I should highlight that, and this is just a small example, and I'm sure that Chanhassen and Chaska and other branches are doing the same. We connect with Cologne Academy in this instance that I'm going to speak of, and remainder book sale books that we had in Waconia. We invited, and we've been doing this for multiple years with somebody from Cologne Academy comes up and gets a collection of books that they then distribute at Trunk or Treat here in Cologne, at Cologne Academy. So just trying to stay connected. Somebody could say, well, it's only an express library here, but we try and stay connected in this community in ways in addition to the express library system. Teentober, right? Lots going on for the teens, including 6-word writing contest and fine waiver program, things like that. And book sale at Norwood Young America next weekend, 2 weeks. I've got the date in your packet, so.
Okay. Matt?
We're renaming our child Dewey in honor of the Dewey Decimal System.
I support that.
I don't know why I said that, but I was just thinking about the frustration in finding stuff sometimes. Melsa named executive director. Her name is Shelley, and she's going through some life changes. She's moving from Wisconsin to Minnesota. Her contract states she must become a Vikings fan before the middle of December. She's getting married, and she's starting as our executive director. And so, just briefly to talk about it, I don't know many people knew about this or not, but we actually changed a law this past year through MELSA. I know a lot of people talk about diversity, equity, inclusion. It hits everybody's ears a little bit differently, but when we have the practicality of saying we want a broader pool of people that apply for that position, we felt it appropriate to get rid of the requirement to have MLS or MLIS, because the majority of the people that have those degrees look like me, and it was precluding people from applying. And so I think we had 50 different applicants. I think half of them had MLIS and half of them did not. Ended up selecting somebody that happened to have it, so it's a win all the way around. And she's excited to start as soon as she gets done being married and having that time, and we'll welcome her, so that's good. I think that some of the buzz, at least at our last meeting, at least I felt, maybe I looked through different glasses, was from Carver County. We're not the first to do expanded access, and we do have a good amount of helpers throughout the MELSA system that will help us assist, particularly Jake and Scott County neighboring. 7 of their 8 libraries are expanded access, if I think correctly, and so sometimes Carver County isn't the first to lead, but we're towards the front on this one. And it's happening, and it's going to happen, and it's going to be great. And so it's nice to know that we've got peers in other areas. And then I think that the executive director, the new executive director, the interim executive director, and a lot of the staff elevated, at least in the last 2 years, we've elevated library directors. And Jody's been a voice at that table to share, not in a braggadocious way, but in a, hey, look what we're doing here, right? So sometimes we're the quiet library, and I think it's fun to be the loud library once in a while to say what we're doing with expanded access for the kids at the school and then expanded access physically in our space. So anything to add from the MELSA stuff?
No, I don't think so. Just that it's so many new folks at the table there, and we're really coming together as this incredible team of directors, where we really share ideas and support to one another.
Yep.
So it's a really great table to sit at.
Yep.
And how often do you meet with the directors?
Monthly.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
I guess, no.
You're gonna skip to every other week, every other month.
Yeah.
I just had to say that.
I know, well, if they're meeting that much, yeah. Anything, I don't think you've met in the foundation since the last meeting, but
No.
any updates?
Ta-da, this Thursday you will be attending.
And briefer,
Pardon?
and briefer.
And of course, always Jody, it's this Thursday, and
Oh, this Thursday?
yes.
Oh,
And
okay,
I'm looking forward to it,
good, good. Well, we'll hear about it in November.
yes.
All right, then there's correspondence or media updates, and I think that's everything we needed to cover today. So, a motion to adjourn?
Motion to
Charles?
adjourn.
Okay. Second.
Second.
All right, meeting adjourned.